Hello. Yeah. Uh, Good evening. On behalf of AMA, I welcome all of you for this interesting lecture that you're going to hear shortly. So quickly, most of you are aware of AMA, so I am here on behalf of AMA. I'm part of the PR committee. So I will not speak anything much on AMA, as all of you are aware. Quickly to tell you, Mr. Sandip Shah, brief background of Gift City. I mean, it's a lot in the news today. Way back I have been associated with Gift City in the past, so just a quick background of what Gift City, it was conceptualized by our current PM and former CM of Gujarat in 2007. And, that time, no one had imagined what is an IFSC. So today he will be explaining to you what IFSC is. That is what, just I was talking here before to the AMA team, that interestingly the IFSC project report was made by the Congress government in Bombay in Maharashtra, and the central government was Congress, and the report was put on one side and none of them implemented it or thought of it. And it was Modi who took it up and proposed to set it up in Gujarat, and he sent the proposal to the central government, which again at that time was of Congress, and they gave the approval, and then the project took off. So what I wanted to tell you is that the vision that Modi had, a report, he could see 20 years ahead of what is possible. So I'm not here to do politics, just a background quick what it is. And IFSC today has emerged as a global financial services center, and he will explain to you more what it is and what are the possibilities for all of you to look at. So quick short introduction of Mr. Sandip Shah. He is the head of IFSC. IFSC is International Financial Services Center. In brief, it is like a Dubai or a Singapore or a Hong Kong where you can do international business. So, and it's like an SEZ. Mr. Shah has been, I think, 13 years he has been with IFSC. Before that, he was with HSBC Bank. It's a very long thing. He has done a lot of things. He's been working with various authorities, Ministry of Finance, RBI, SEBI, IRDA, all regulatory institutions. He has, worked with getting bullion exchange. Many of you may not be aware, there is an international bullion exchange which has started operations. There is offshore fund management center. So Gift City is emerging. There are a lot of other things that he has done. He has worked extensively in various committees formed by the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Civil Aviation in the areas of international financial services. And today, currently is promoting export of financial services in India and is a member of the Fintech Evaluation Committee set up by IFSC authority. He has worked extensively for bringing new business activities in the areas of Fintech, bullion trading, ship leasing, and foreign universities in GIFT IFSC. So, before I hand over to him, a short felicitation from AMA side for Mr. Sandip Bhai. Yes, Sandip Bhai. We will keep 5-10 minutes at the end for questions. So can keep all your questions for the end. Please don't interrupt in the middle.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be in AMA, Ahmedabad Management Association. I have a very long association with AMA. And probably I think 2 weeks back, had a meeting with Mr. Unmesh from AMA, and we were discussing how do we work together in terms of creating the right kind of awareness. And generally many times whenever you interact internally with your friends, family, there is a common questions going on કે શું ચાલે છે ગિફ્ટમાં અને શું કરી શકાય ગિફ્ટમાં. These are very common questions, and one of the reasons why everybody is very curious, because one day you are reading in newspaper that a foreign bank is setting up. Next day you will read that foreign universities are setting up a campus. And in the middle of this news, you are also hearing that the prohibition is relaxed in GIFT City. So I think combining all of that, it's very important to provide the right kind of message in terms of what's happening, and in whichever field you are, I feel there is opportunity to be in GIFT City. And that's where my today's objective of interaction or the presentation is to give you the right picture about what's happening in GIFT City. And ultimately, being part of Ahmedabad or a Gujarat, it's also kind of a very important that somebody asking you શું થાય છે ગિફ્ટમાં શું થઈ રહ્યું છે, so you should be giving the right answer and not only giving the picture what's happening, the reading you are in newspaper. So many times the reality may differ from the news that you may be reading, or the talks that you may be hearing from the other colleagues. So that's where I'll keep my presentation in two parts. So the first part, which is more on the, we call it hardware, where we will discuss about what is going on, what is the objective, the infrastructure that we have set up, and the kind of facilities which are coming up. So that's more from the perspective of how the city is coming up. And why it is important, because as Gujarati or as Indian, you will feel proud that some of the infrastructure facilities that I'm going to talk about have been created in our city, in our country, and which is very unique, and many of these infrastructure facilities have been created first time at the country level. And the second part of discussion, I will be very specific on the IFSC side. And many a times, when we understand IFSC, we feel it's very technical, thoda financial services related, it may not relate to us. So that's where I will also try to kind of give perspective that even if you are into a non-financial services business, there are certain areas where you can utilize some of the financial services which have been kind of created or which have been set up in GIFT City today. And that's where I think, within your, either you are into a consultancy business, advisory business, or you are connected with manufacturing companies, I'll try to connect and associate yourself with the available opportunities here. While there are slides, I'll keep running, but I'll try to keep it more interactive, and I'll spend more time on the question answer, because being diversified area and the opportunities that GIFT City provides, you may have lots of questions as a student, as a kind of seeking employment opportunity, or as a businessman, you may like to understand what are the opportunities for me in GIFT City today, and that's where I'll focus more during my address. So I think, as Mr. Narayan rightly mentioned, idea of Government of Gujarat and Government of India is to create global financial and IT services hub. We know as a state of Gujarat, we are very much kind of, ahead in terms of the various manufacturing activities, whether you talk of pharma, chemical, textile, diamond, I think we have done quite well. This is kind of an attempt to create financial and IT services hub in the state of Gujarat. And that's where, if you look at the name of GIFT City, GIFT, the F and T stands for finance and tech. So I think way back in 2007-8, it was conceptual, when the GIFT City was conceptualized. The idea was to create a hub which will focus on the financial and technology as the operations. And that's where the journey started, and probably the ideation happened when, when we realized that many of our international financial services requirements of our country, that was served from the other financial centers. So I'll give you a very basic example. Say if an Indian corporate looking to avail foreign currency loan, which is generally known as ECB, external commercial borrowing, right, which banks provide to the Indian corporates. Now such foreign currency loans were provided from the other branches of the either Indian banks or foreign banks. So what will happen, SBI or ICICI or Kotak kind of banks, they will go and set up branches overseas, and through those overseas branches they will disburse the foreign currency loan. And why will they do it? Because Indian regulations were not allowing Indian financial institutions to deal in foreign currency the way other financial centers were allowed to do. And that was the idea of creating International Financial Services Center, and I'll discuss more in detail when I come to that part of my talk. But if you look at more from the city perspective, I think many of the elements have been kept in mind in such a way that we create actually a truly global financial centers, because when we are looking to create fund regulation or when we want to invite international traders to be here, it's important that the infrastructure is also laid down in such a way that, you know, offshore fund manager working in Singapore is comfortable coming back and operating from the city that we are creating. And that's where the entire concept is based on integrated city development, basically, where commercial, residential, and the social facilities are part of that 1,000 acres of land. So around Gift City today, if you ask, it's around close to 900 acres of land under which the entire city is coming up. The other important aspect, basically, for the cities, it is also it was a greenfield project. So when we started, I am sure many of you would have visited in 2007, 8 or 2010, 11. The entire land was a barren land. So you can't even walk. That was the status of that land. It was also an advantage because we could actually start from the scratch. So entire master planning of the city was done well in advance, where in terms of, where the commercial building will come up with the other infrastructure facilities and all of that. So that was an advantage, and that's how the city has been well planned in advance. And the idea is to see that, it becomes a truly smart city, and some of the elements of the infrastructure I'll mention that will give you a perspective how the city is laid down. I don't need to mention here, but more from a global audience, it is very important that how the financial center is located, because the connectivity is very important. And as we all know that, from Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, it's very well connected by road network. As Ahmedabad as airport is also well connected with major cities in India and globally. So that's very important again for the global audience to look at in terms of how the city is located. This is, I'm not sure, the slides which you can see. This is important. The master plan of the city looks like this, which you can see on the screen. And in the middle of the map, basically, where you can see, that's so city is divided into two parts. So the other one part is domestic zone, which is as good as, say, Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, Delhi, Mumbai. And the red boundary which you see in the middle of the map, that is special economic zone, which means that particular special economic zone has been notified as the International Financial Services Center. Now, generally we are aware about the SEZ concepts in India, right? It has been created to ensure that the export of goods and export of services basically are encouraged. So when Government of India wanted to start International Financial Services Center in a country, they realized that SEZ is a right framework because it already enjoys various exemptions in the current regulation. So it has already exemptions from the indirect tax perspective and other acts in the country. So the zone in Gift City has been notified in 2015 as the International Financial Services Center by Ministry of Finance, Government of India. And in the master plan, if you look at the different dots basically which you can see, the blue, red and yellow, it is actually divided into a kind of a section where commercial, residential and the social facilities have been captured within that 800 or 900 acres of land. And why the residentials are also integral part, basically because when we studied the other financial centers, we realized that people or employees actually spend a lot of time when they travel from home to office. And it was very important that all the facilities or including the residentials are part of the financial hub which we are creating in the city itself. The second, we also ensure that when families are living, it's important that we provide them a school kind of facilities. There are business clubs, hotels. So all sorts of required facilities for a family to live have also been created very well in the city, and I'm sure many of you would have visited in some or other occasions. So if not, I think you must visit and see how the city is coming up. And that's where my objective of giving the perspective of the master plan was to give you that it's a very well planned city. तो कई बार हम लोग वो रेसिडेंशियल अपार्टमेंट लेते हैं, वी डोंट नो कि नेक्स्ट प्लॉट में क्या आने वाला है, right? So यहाँ पे it is well defined, well designed, that you know how the city is going to come up going forward as well. The another important aspect, and which is again very important move by the government of Gujarat, apart from that 800 to 900 acres of land, the expanded zone, which is close to another 3003 acres of area, that has also been captured under the GIFT city. So now the city limit has expanded, and the master planning of the expanded zone will be done by GIFT city, and that's again in a very advanced stage of development. The draft development plan has been already in public domain, and probably it will be issued very shortly. The reason why the step has been taken, because it should not happen that we are creating a modern city, and once you go out of that modern city, there is unstructured development. So to ensure that there is a continuity of the development that government of Gujarat is doing, the expanded area will also play a very important role in creating kind of a modern city in the state. Now, the unique part of the city, so while the infrastructure in the smart city is a unique place, but again it's very important to note the role of GIFT city. So what do we do basically as a GIFT, as a company? So what government of Gujarat has done, they have created a company called Gujarat International Finance Tech City Company Limited, which is the name of a company set up by government of Gujarat, and idea is to run the entire city by this company. The GIFT city basically is also a recognized urban development authority. So when you are living in Ahmedabad, so Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation is the body which takes care of the municipal function of the city, right? Within GIFT city, GIFT has been given that power where the entire urban development or the municipal functions of the city will be controlled and managed by GIFT city. And that's the uniqueness of it, because it's a completely online, transparent, single window mechanism, where if say somebody wants to set up a building, all the building approvals, planning approvals, including fire approvals, that is provided by GIFT city as urban development authority. And actually, the developers or the institutions enjoy the single window when they set up the facilities there. And the notified committee setup is taking care of all the requirements related to the municipal functions. Now, I was talking about some of the infrastructure facilities, and probably we will encourage all of you to come and physically see this infrastructure. We have created automated waste collection plant, and one of the reasons why such facilities was created to ensure that there is no manual intervention to collect the waste or the garbage in the city. So what we have done, there are chutes available at each floor. You throw the waste, it will travel through 90 km speed through a section basically, and it will be collected and segregated at single plant. So the fully automated segregation plant, auto waste collection plant is up and running. So कई बार हम लोग बोलते हैं ना smart city. Now what is smart city basically? So some of these infrastructure facilities will actually decide how the city operates in terms of their waste management, in terms of their the other utilities that they are managing. Another very important infrastructure is the right side top, which you can see is the underground utility tunnel. Now imagine kind of a space which is a 7 by 7 meter, exactly similar to this kind of a room, where all the utilities pipelines are laid down in the tunnel, which means in case of any maintenance activity, your vehicle will go inside and it will do the maintenance activity. So there will not be any land digging for any maintenance activity. And that's the beauty of the city, where all the utilities are below the ground, and that's how the facilities are today controlled and managed. Similarly, we have centralized cooling plant. So the cooling is provided through a chilled water and it is converted into the air. And we also have a water treatment plant which provides the drinkable water at the tap level. So that's how some of these unique infrastructure facilities have been laid down today. The entire city is controlled and managed through a centralized command control center. So all the utilities, all the buildings, all the residential, commercial, it will be connected with this centralized command control center. I mean, there was an incident where in one of the building in GIFT city, in the basement there was a small fire. So even before the building could know it, the centralized command control center could actually, they got the alert, then immediately informed to the one building management saying that there is some sort of fire in your basement, and they could actually mention the location of that fire as well. So that's how the entire city command control center operates today in the city, and it's all well functioning today. Now I think so that was the more from the city perspective, hardware perspective, in terms of the how the city is coming up and it is established. Let me come to a kind of a discussion more core on the financial services and the business activities perspective, and that's again very important. I may sound little technical, but I'll try to give you a very basic and a layman perspective in terms of what you can do in some of the business activities which are already happening. But it's very important for all of you to understand what is IFSC. SBI और ICICI बैंक की अहमदाबाद ब्रांच और गिफ्ट सिटी ब्रांच में क्या डिफरेंस है, so that basic questions are very important to be understood, and then we will come to the specific businesses which are already happening, and I'll try to relate with your kind of profession where as a banker or as a technology service provider, how you can become part of some of the activities which are already happening. So if you look at the objective of creating IFSC in India is to basically create the inbound and outbound gateway. तो आज अगर मुझे और आपको अगर बाहर डॉलर में पैसा भेजना है तो आरबीआई ने एक लिमिट डिसाइड किया है. It says that you can send only $250,000 every month, every year, sorry. So you can't spend money in dollar terms more than $250,000 in a year. As a company also, they have defined certain limits. And as a bank, as a financial institution or as a capital market player, RBI has kept certain limits in terms of the foreign currency transaction that a financial unit can do in India. Now, if you look at India's requirement in terms of foreign currency loan, in terms of the debt that we raise from the international markets, in terms of the international trading that we do, and the study says that the India's requirement for such foreign currency business is to the tune of $50 billion every year. So अगर ये financial center government ने create नहीं किया होता, $50 billion का business would have happened from the other financial centers. And that's the kind of strength or potential of such financial center to be created in our country. And that's where idea is to see that the dollar coming in India or dollar going out from India, GIFT City has a solution where some of those services or activities can be provided from that particular zone. And that's how the center has been created today, and the regulations and the tax framework have been laid down. And when we were studying the other financial centers, we realized that there are three kind of important factors which generally, which will make financial center successful. One is the regulatory regime. आज किसी आपको भी अगर से बिजनेस सेटअप करना है तो ये रेगुलेशन शुड बी क्लियर, एंड इट शुड गिव यू अ क्लैरिटी कि आप क्या बिजनेस कर सकते हो, किसके साथ कर सकते हो, किस करेंसी में कर सकते हो, all of that, right? So that regulatory clarity, regulatory freedom is very important, which we have taken care. The second is the taxation aspect. It's important that the tax regime is very clear. मेरा capital gain होगा, business income होगा, what will be the income for my investors, whether withholding tax will be applicable, whether GST is applicable. So some of those elements, we ensure that there is a clarity for various businesses to happen from the zone. And the third aspect basically was the dispute resolution. So it's important that the dispute resolution in terms of the arbitration facilities is also quite sound basically, so that the foreign investors are comfortable dealing with the institutions operating in the zone. Now, if you look at the current, our financial services ecosystem in India, generally there are three regulators, right? I'm sure you are aware. Banks are regulated by RBI, capital markets by SEBI, and the insurance by the IRDA. So, आपको तीनों में से कोई भी बिजनेस अगर करना है, so you will have to go to that particular regulator, regulation समझना पड़ेगा, and you will have to apply to the respective regulator for the license. What we have done in GIFT City, एक नया रेगुलेटर सेटअप किया है जिसका नाम है IFSC अथॉरिटी. Now the way RBI, SEBI and IRD have been created through the Parliamentary Act, on the same lines IFSC authority has been created through an act which is IFSC Authority Act 2019. For the first time, I'm not sure if you are aware, but the Central Regulatory Authority has set up in Gujarat for the first time. The IFSC Authority headquarter has been established in GIFT City, which is a single regulator for all the activities. So whether you talk of banking, insurance, capital market, fintech, and all other activities which I am going to discuss in the international zone, there is a single regulator. So आपको अगर say stock broking entity setup करना है, so you don't need to go to the SEBI. You make an application to the IFSC authority and they will provide the license to operate in the zone. Now, if you look at the current, as I mentioned, the financial services ecosystem, generally we have looked financial services only from the perspective of banking, insurance and the capital markets, right? These are the three major areas under which the financial services are generally discussed today, basically in India. But in the IFSC GIFT City, we have actually gone beyond the traditional financial activities. Today we are talking of emerging areas which India had never done earlier, like aircraft leasing and financing. I will discuss more in detail ये business है क्या, and it's not related to civil aviation, it is actually related to financial services. So some of these businesses which you can see in the list of emerging areas, many of these activities were not happening in the country and those have been enabled today in the IFSC zone through a right regulations and the tax framework. In terms of the ecosystem, आप एक क्वेश्चन ये होगा कि ये सब ठीक है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना लिया, बट है कौन वहाँ पे, कौन ऑपरेट करता है? 26 banks are already operating today. All the Indian major banks and 9, including 9 foreign banks like Standard Chartered, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, and these banks have set up their offshore branches in GIFT City. So ये सारा बिजनेस वो लोग जो इंडिया का बिजनेस सिंगापुर या अदर ब्रांचेस से ओवरसीज ब्रांचेस से करते थे, those businesses have started happening from India, from GIFT City. So आज किसी को foreign currency loan चाहिए, trade finance चाहिए, these businesses today are now provided by the banks set up in GIFT City. So that's again a very important development that India has seen now, where the banking asset size has crossed more than $40 billion today. And this was zero, say in 2015. So entire banking asset size for the dollar denominated business has started happening from here. And there are 2 international stock exchanges, there is a bullion exchange, 25 insurance firms, fintech firms, and more than 400 such financial institutions are already operating here. Now, and in terms of the business, they have also done quite well. So if you look at the banking assets, as I mentioned, is $52 billion. Alternative investment funds have raised more than $26 billion. बाहर से जो आज तक पैसा है, आप न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ते होगे FPI फ्लो इतना आया और FDI फ्लो इतना आया. Now those FPI and FDI investments have started happening from the IFSC zone, which is more of a fund management activities today. Now let me come to the specific businesses and then you can relate in terms of where you are in terms of the businesses that you are doing. आज हम बैंकिंग की बात करें. Now these banks, so हम banks कैसे सेटअप होगी वो तो मैं बात नहीं करूँगा, because वो they have the people who know how to set up bank. But it is important for all of you to know that banks यहाँ पे services क्या provide कर रहे हैं. उसके basis पे in whichever domain you are, you can actually relate in terms of आपकी companies को आप ये बैंक से क्या service provide करवा सकते हो. And the first and very foremost service is the external commercial borrowing. So आज generally Indian companies, whether MSME, SMEs, they are allowed to actually borrow in foreign currency. Now many a times this foreign currency borrowing is taken care by the large banks for the large corporates. So if you are associated with even a mid-size or SME companies, you can connect with the banks based in GIFT City, and these are all mid-size and large banks are present. These banks will provide you the foreign currency loan. There are other transactions in terms of the trade finance, buyer's credit, if you want to do hedging in foreign currency in terms of rupee dollar, that is also possible through the banks set up in GIFT. So again, for all of you, banks related, जहाँ पे भी आपको लग रहा है there is a dollar transaction for your business activities, you can check with the banks operating in GIFT City what kind of services that they can provide from the IFSC banking service banking units. And these banks have also started investing in India as the FPI. So Standard Chartered and HSBC kind of banks, they have obtained FPI license, and as FPI they are actually trading in the Indian markets as well. So that's again a new business which these banks have started doing. More from the employment perspective, it is also important for all of you to look at the services that they offer, because आज generally हम banks की बात करते हैं as a management student, वो current account, saving account, and the corporate loans and all of that. But today, for the first time, we are also talking of a global treasury activities. You can actually expand your career into the international rupee dollar, called dollar trading basically. So I think ये सारी businesses और services है जिसमें you can actually as an employment opportunity you can deep dive, and you can actually become employable in some of the banks operating here, and they are actually looking for a right talent, because earlier these businesses were not happening from India, right? So they are actually looking for a right talent where they can get the talent in terms of the treasury, who can understand the dollar market, international market, currency market, and all of that. So that's again very important for all of you to look at. Now, one of the fastest growing business today in GIFT City is the alternative investment fund, and very important because AIF की मैं जब बात करता हूँ, it actually comes with the entire ecosystem. आज alternative investment fund क्या है? Let me explain in a very simple terms. If I am a fund manager, and if I have a knowledge of investing or trading in the capital markets, what I will do, I'll set up an alternative investment fund, which is generally like a trust structure, and I will pull money from the foreign investors. So NRI and foreign investors can actually invest into my fund, and this fund can invest in Indian domestic market. So IFSC अभी तक आपको ये पता चल गया होगा कि it's like a deemed foreign territory. You cannot deal in rupee. The IFSC zone allows only business only in dollar terms, basically. And when you set up in dollar terms, you can raise money from the foreign currency and you can invest in India. Close to 100 such alternative investment funds have already set up today in GIFT City. And when they are setting up alternative investment funds, there are two minimum requirements. So अगर किसी को मुझे आज अगर fund setup करना है, I will have to hire mandatorily compliance officer, and I'll have to hire principal officer. And the qualification and the criteria have been well defined in the regulation. Now, and we are expecting this number to double in next 2 years, the 100 alternative investment funds. So imagine the kind of opportunities available for the young MBS, or if you are into a financial management, or if you are into the company secretary or secretarial role, as a compliance officer or as a financial management kind of a graduate, you can actually become part of this ecosystem where the entire fund management activities can happen from here. Now, second opportunity, if you think that I don't have expertise in the fund management, or I don't have expertise in the compliance, another opportunity is with the ecosystem player, because when you are setting up a fund, it needs trustee provider, it needs custodian, it needs fund accounting player, it needs fund administrator. So there are 6 to 7 other agencies without which setting up a fund is not possible. And that's where you can actually think of the entire kind of a cycle of setting up a fund and try to see how you can be a part of the entire ecosystem which is coming up. And when I say a fund, it is not only about equity market. अगर मुझे startups में भी invest करना है, I can set up under the venture fund category. If I want to invest into the unlisted market, मुझे अगर real estate, energy, power projects में invest करना है, you can set up category 2 fund, which is basically focusing more in the unlisted market. Now, I think probably, if you are into the financial market, it is very important that you are aware about this subject, because some or other way you will be, associated with the fund ecosystem going forward. If you are a businessman, or if you think that you can invest overseas, if you have enough money and if you want to diversify your portfolio in the international markets, as a company, you can also invest in dollar terms through GIFT City fund in any other international markets. And let me tell you, ये जो provision मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, where say Ahmedabad based company ABC Limited transferring fund under the overseas portfolio investment category OPI route in GIFT City fund, that's only available in GIFT. Otherwise, this unlisted company is not allowed to invest as a portfolio companies in the overseas markets under the OPI route. So probably you can also advise your existing clients or companies, or if you are into the manufacturing companies as well, if they have excess cash surplus, they can invest in the international markets through the funds registered in GIFT City. So that's very important, and we can discuss in detail about the various aspects of the funds, but some of the names like Morgan Stanley, Kotak, Edelweiss, they have set up their funds in GIFT City today. And this was the structure I was talking about, where you set up a fund, raise money from the foreign investors, and you can invest into the Indian market. It can be listed securities, it can be unlisted securities. And vice versa, you can also set up a fund, raise money from their domestic investors, and invest in the international markets. So inbound and outbound, both kind of investments are possible under this structure. And मैंने जैसे बताया कि from the employment perspective also, you can actually become part of any of the ecosystem service provider which are today present in the GIFT City. And we have ensured that our income tax regime, our capital gain taxation is at par with the way funds are operating in Singapore and Mauritius. So अगर FPI अगर GIFT से trading करता है in the derivatives market in India, there is no capital gain tax, which is generally 30% when they trade on the derivatives market, as we all know, right, as Indian investor. So that such tax benefits have also been provided, so that India business can come back and the fund management activities can start happening from the international zone in GIFT City. Insurance is again, one of the major market which is growing from GIFT City today. Generally, इंश्योरेंस हमने लाइफ जनरल इंश्योरेंस पर्सपेक्टिव देखा है, बट द रीइंश्योरेंस बिजनेस इज अनदर बिग बिजनेस टुडे हैपनिंग फ्रॉम द जोन. एंड द इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज लाइक से HDFC Life or Tata AI, what they have done, they are also now providing products for the NRI insurance. So if our cousins or brothers or sisters, if they are staying in overseas, say US, they can actually take the dollar denominated insurance from GIFT City. Even the insured family members are in India. So the dollar denominated insurance policy issued by GIFT City Insurance Company for the insurance insured people in India as well, or the overseas. So that's again a unique model kind of insurance is also coming up, and HDFC Life, say, as an example, they already launched such products, and you can become part of that ecosystem. Now, even for a previous and this one, the opportunity is, if you even want to become a distributor of a insurance product, or even if you want to become a distributor of investment products, say अगर आप fund setup नहीं कर सकते, but if you think that you can bring 5 investors to a fund, आप distributor बन जाओ, distributor of a fund, and you distribute funds and help the fund managers to raise capital for them, and you can actually enjoy on the distribution fees from the respective fund managers. So that's again a business opportunity which can be looked at from GIFT City perspective. Capital markets, I think, as Ahmedabadi, I don't need to discuss more on capital markets, because I'm sure everybody at 9:15 opens Money Control to see the prices of the stocks. And earlier we used to see in the early morning about SGX Nifty, right? Kitna SGX Nifty, and that will decide the opening of our Nifty market. probably the gift nifty has now become the kind of an index for all of us. So Indian index, which was earlier trading on Singapore exchange, it has now come back. So the entire nifty which was traded on Singapore exchange is now happening in gift city, and as the world and India actually looks at gift nifty before the Indian market opens. So that's again kind of a great success story in terms of onshoring the offshore. जो बाहर के financial market में काम हो रहा था, we are trying to see that how it can be created and developed in our financial center. But I feel that capital markets में सबसे ज़्यादा opportunities है for even a mid-sized to a large player. And as I mentioned, in GIFT City there are already 2 international stock exchanges and they operate 22 hours a day. So 22 घंटा stock exchange में काम होता है. These are all dollar denominated products. So nothing is traded in rupee terms. These are all dollar denominated products. Nifty is the major liquid product, but अगर आज आपको Apple और Google के shares भी purchase करने हैं, and generally if a price of a Apple and Google share is quite huge, I mean is a single share लेना भी we may cost you lakhs of rupees. What we have done, we have converted into the fraction of units. So even if you want to buy such US stocks, you can buy on the NSE gift exchange in fraction of units. So जैसे हम म्यूचुअल फंड की यूनिट्स परचेस करते हैं वैसे ही यूनिट्स अवेलेबल है, एंड एज ए इंडियन इन्वेस्टर यू एंड मी टुडे कैन ट्रेड ऑन दोज एंड बाय दोज यूनिट्स फ्रॉम गिफ्ट सिटी टुडे. Other opportunities is one, you can set up a broking arm. So you can set up a stock broking firm which can trade gift city stock exchanges, and you can also trade any other international market. So अगर आपको Nasdaq trade करना है या if you want to trade any other international markets, that's possible if you have set up kind of a broking firm in gift city in IFSC today. The other opportunities in the capital market basically is also to set up the investment advisory. So if you think that you can provide investment advisory to the foreign investors to invest in India, that is also possible under the investment advisory norms. Distribution I was mentioning, so it's again purely based on your relationship. You can create a kind of a unit here which will be a distribution. You can provide a distribution of a mutual fund, or it can be any investment products. You can sell it to the Indian customer or foreign investors from GIFT City, and you can earn the distribution fees basically. Similarly, like AIF, as I mentioned, portfolio management services can also be provided. So you can set up PMS for the Indian investors to invest overseas, or PMS for foreign investors to invest in India. So both the way you can set up the portfolio management services activities in the IFSC zone. Now bullion exchange is very interesting. I'm not sure if you are aware, but till recently gold अगर परचेस करना है तो इंडिया में RBI ने क्या किया था कि nominated agencies डिसाइड की थी. So there were around 12 to 13 banks which were allowed to import gold. उसके अलावा कोई और नहीं कर सकता था. अभी क्या कर दिया है कि क्वालिफाइड ज्वेलर्स, एंड वो भी गोल्ड परचेस कैसे होता था कि 10 ज्वेलर्स को अगर 100 kg गोल्ड की रिक्वायरमेंट है, they will go to say HDFC Bank and they will say that we will need 100 kg gold. HDFC Bank बात करेगा स्टैंडर्ड चार्टर्ड बैंक सिंगापुर से, आई एम जस्ट हाइपोथेटिकल एग्जांपल, and that Standard Chartered Bank will then supply gold to the Indian bank basically, and then Indian bank will supply it to the domestic market. So it was all OTC, over the counter. Phone पे order लिया, place किया, and that's how the trading was happening. Now what we have done, Government of India, gold is now traded on the bullion exchange. तो अगर किसी भी ज्वेलर्स को अगर गोल्ड परचेज करना है, they can directly come on the exchange platform, place an order, and through the bid and ask mechanism, the way equity shares are traded today on the exchange, वो गोल्ड परचेज कर सकते हैं. Within 30 minutes डिलीवरी विल बी प्रोवाइडेड. सो गिफ्ट की सिटी के अंदर बुलियन वॉल्ट्स भी है जहाँ पे गोल्ड इज ऑलरेडी स्टोर्ड. सो व्हेन यू बाय गोल्ड ऑन द एक्सचेंज, एक बुलियन डिपॉजिटरी रिसिप्ट जनरेट होगा और उसके थ्रू विद इन 30 मिनट्स यू कैन टेक द डिलीवरी. सो एंटायर बुलियन ट्रेडिंग इकोसिस्टम इज नाउ happening in India, and this is the only exchange in India which provides that स्पॉट मार्केट. गोल्ड का ट्रेडिंग MCX में भी होता है, बट दैट्स डेरिवेटिव. This is spot market where delivery of gold can happen on real time basis in the spot market, and probably going forward you will see that the buying of gold will happen through the. इससे मुझे और आपको क्या फ़ायदा है? आज क्या है कि gold, India is the second largest consumer in the world, right? But the price of gold is not decided by India. So eventually when it becomes a liquid product, gold का price हम decide कर सकते हैं. And there will be single price for the country as well, क्योंकि आज the gold price of Ahmedabad is different, Mumbai is different, and the different cities have different prices. अगर यहाँ से trading volume increase होता है, then these exchange will be able to provide single price for the country as well. So that's the kind of strength and potential of this exchange, which is expected to be a part of it. Now coming to the fintech story of Gift City, very important again, because India, अगर fintech की जब दुनिया में बात होती है तो we don't talk about world standard. People are now talking about India standard, and that's the kind of beauty of the fintech story, success story that India has created today. And fintech is generally, let me in a layman language give you a perspective. ये fintech entities करती क्या है and what they can do from Gift City. So fintech basically, as you know, that it's a technology solution for a particular financial product which is provided through a solution created through a technology, right? And if we talk about Paytm, PhonePe kind of products, they've created ease for dealing in the financial markets. Zerodha is one of the greatest example, where buying, selling, trading in the securities market has become very easy with the kind of companies of Zerodha and all. Now typically fintech is a B2C product. So मैंने एक business model बनाया जहाँ पे एक technology का solution create किया, and I'm sharing it to the consumers and consumer. In a Gift City, what we have done, we have created fintech regulations, very defined regulation, जहाँ पे if you think you have some solution, जहाँ पे आप से NRI customers को onboard करने का कोई solution है, या तो Indian customers को आपके पास solution है कि you can provide them easy access to the international markets. Any sorts of a fintech solution that you can create, Gift City has a regulatory framework जिसके sandbox regime में you can get registered and you can provide that solution to the consumer directly. And typically for a fintech product, it is important that they get the real time data, क्योंकि अगर आपको securities market में trading करना है या उसका solution provide करना है, the data is important that it is available to the fintech company. So there are more than 45 to 50 companies have registered today in Gift City, and they are providing different sorts of solutions to the either Indian consumer or the foreign consumer. Now if you are into the technology company, and if you think that you can create certain solutions where either you can provide services to the NRI clients or Indian clients, you can be a part of the fintech regime which is created. And the unique part of the fintech story in Gift City is it is not restricted to fintech. We are also talking of agri-tech, health tech, space tech. So any solutions which you can think of creating for such business, that is possible under the IFSC fintech framework, and happy to share the regulatory regime to discuss more in detail. And probably right side you can see the list in terms of which kind of businesses which can be created under the fintech regime. And I'll also discuss, because the kind of companies that we are now getting in the Gift City, there is a very dedicated need of a talent, and we are also going to work very closely with AMA in terms of how do we ensure that the right talent is available for the companies coming up in Gift City. And that's where some of the students or the management students or even the technology field students looking for an opportunity, I'll give you some ideas in terms of how you can work on some of the areas. Global in-house centers, Bank of America is the first one which has set up their global in-house centers. तो ये लोग क्या करते हैं, Bank of America sitting in India, they manage their branches and subsidiaries from one location. So uska back office operations, account opening process, trade finance operations, they do it from one location. India today is the leader of this business, and the reason is हमारे पास talent है, technology में we have a talent, finance talent we have easily available, and the cost of operations. Bank of America has more than 2,500 people working today in GIFT City in this domain, and probably we are expecting many such foreign banks to also come up. Now it's important that ये जो global in-house centers की activities है, you are familiar with it, and you can actually become a part of the ecosystem by as an employment opportunities you can look at. And generally these companies hire in numbers, they have generally have 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 people, and that's where global in-house centers will play a very important role to create the right ecosystem in the city today. NBFC भी create हो सकती है, so if you are into a lending borrowing kind of transaction, that can also be established in GIFT. Treasury, I was mentioning even if you are into manufacturing a company, but if your manufacturing company has subsidiaries overseas, उसका treasury operations आप GIFT से manage कर सकते हो, in terms of cash pooling, in terms of currency hedging, commodity hedging. So those kind of treasury transactions can also happen from the IFSC zone, which was not allowed earlier, and probably non-financial companies also can look at setting up the treasury operations. Aircraft leasing and ship leasing are very unique business model which have evolved in our country, and I'm sure all of you know that Indian Airlines have ordered close to 1,000 aircrafts, right? Air India and other airlines. Now typically होता कैसे है कि Air India, when they want to purchase the aircraft, they generally don't buy on their books. They will place an order with the Boeing kind of manufacturing company, and then they will tie up with one of the leasing company. वो leasing company को बोलेगे कि मुझे 10 aircraft चाहिए, but you take it, I will take it on lease from you. उससे क्या होता है कि मुझे एज ए एयरलाइंस आई विल नॉट हैव टू इन्वेस्ट 300-400 crores rupees in one aircraft, right? I will only pay lease rental kind of every month, and I can buy 10 aircrafts basically on the lease basis. Now leasing of these aircrafts have started happening from GIFT City. So ये पहले पूरा ट्रांजेक्शन होता था सेंटर्स लाइक आयरलैंड और सिंगापुर और हांगकॉन्ग. But GIFT City has now dedicated framework where the leasing of aircraft is happening from GIFT City. And आपके लिए एडवांटेज, आप बोलोगे कि मैं थोड़ी एयरक्राफ्ट परचेस करने वाला हूँ, तो आई एम नॉट आस्किंग यू टू सेट अप लीजिंग एंटिटी, बट व्हेन entity is doing a leasing entity, they need legal services, they need accounting services, they also need experts who can understand the leasing transactions. So ये सारे compliance, risk management, leasing, financing services can be provided to the such leasing companies from GIFT City basically. Similarly, ship leasing has been enabled today, where a ship can be purchased from GIFT, and you can give it on lease to the various players in India, from GIFT. Now very unique, again for the first time in the country, where 100% campus of a foreign university is possible to be set up. अभी तक क्या हो रहा था कि they can only set up through a partnership, joint venture. Now 2 Australian universities have set up their branch campus, international branch campus in GIFT City. इसके through, so the degree that they will provide, it will be the same degree which they are providing in Australia. So मैं मास्टर ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी अगर यहाँ से कर रहा हूँ डिकन यूनिवर्सिटी गिफ्ट सिटी से, द वैलिडिटी और द वैल्यू ऑफ द डिग्री सेम एज आई एम अवेलिंग फ्रॉम द ऑस्ट्रेलियन यूनिवर्सिटी. And the ranking of these 2 universities are also quite important to know, because one of the university, which is University of Wollongong, the ranking is close to 149 or 150 around, QS ranking. Our IIT Bombay's ranking is somewhere around 150 or 160, right? So if you look at QS 500 ranking perspective also, these universities are highly ranked. So if your colleagues, friends, students are looking to go abroad for a study, they may not require, because the same degree is now available through a campus is set up in GIFT City, and you can actually come and visit the campus and see how the infrastructure is coming up. And these universities are going to provide programs in the technology, in the fintech, or in the financial management perspective. Now, wanted to show some of the logos in terms of companies which are already, which have already set up, the kind of foreign banks and all. But the last IT companies you can see, the companies like Google, Accenture, Capgemini, they have, they are setting up in GIFT City. Additionally, another logo which is not on the screen and which has just applied, they have not formally now set up, is the Wipro. Now, when these companies are setting up, they generally need people in terms of 500, 600, 1,000 kind of people in the IT domain. And that's where I wanted to bring to your notice that some of the big names in the IT world are becoming part of the ecosystem in Gujarat, in GIFT City. And if you are into this area, or if your friends or colleagues are in this area in terms of the IT companies or IT field, there are opportunities coming up in big way, and you should be ready to see how you can actually become part of this ecosystem. Google setting up in Gujarat is a big news for the IT people, and probably if the right talent is available, they will actually expand very rapidly. And for the financial world or a fintech players, the companies are also setting up TechFin as one of the operations. And if a technology company providing financial services operations, that can also be done from GIFT, and it will enjoy 10 years of income tax holiday. So no income tax for the period of 10 years when you set up in IFSC. That's the biggest advantage that all of these companies are enjoying today. And from the fintech perspective also, opportunities are coming up in big way, and all of you should be ready basically to be part of the overall ecosystem. And these companies are also enjoying certain incentives offered by the government of Gujarat. Government of Gujarat has policy called ITITS, which offers very attractive incentives in terms of the capital subsidy, operating expenditure subsidy. The provident fund of the employees is reimbursed 100% for the female employees by government of Gujarat. So somebody wants to set up a large fintech or IT setup, there are incentives under which they can come and operate in the GIFT City today. So probably, last two slides from my side, and then I'll open it up for the question answers. For the, businesses which I have mentioned, all the businesses need talent in particular areas. And I'm very serious about this because as a GIFT City also, we are very serious that the right talent is available to all the companies which are coming here. And some of these activities are happening and going to happen very soon. As an example, if I can mention, Government of India recently permitted global accounting and taxation services from GIFT City, which means if I want to do Australian accounting or UK accounting, I can do it from GIFT City and I can enjoy the 10 years of income tax holiday. And if you're into a commerce background, or if you are into the financial services background, huge opportunities are going to come up in the accounting services. You will see companies are setting them there, and they will need 100, 500,000 people who understands the accounting business. And आप businessman हो तो आपके लिए भी बहुत बड़ा opportunity है, because you can actually set up accounting services or bookkeeping or taxation services, and you can have clients from the international markets. It can be from US, UK, Australia, and it can be any. So it is not necessary that the client should be financial services clients. Even somebody operating a manufacturing company, उसका accounting आप यहाँ से provide कर सकते हो. So the framework is going to be out in next 1 month, and probably it's right time for all of you to start looking at this opportunity. The fintech, as I mentioned, Wipro kind of companies are setting up TechFin operations, and what they have mentioned that they will need 500 people to start with, and they will expand into the larger number. So probably you may also understand the TechFin as an activity and operations, and see how you can be a part of that fintech or TechFin operations which are going to come up. Compliance and risk management, again, as I mentioned, all the businesses which I mentioned in my previous slides, they will mandatorily need principal officer or the compliance officer. Now, when you are becoming a compliance officer of a, say, aircraft leasing firm, you should know the basics of that business, right? So in terms of the compliance and risk management, one, as an employment, obviously there are opportunities, but even if you are a consultancy or advisory service provider, you can actually provide services to these firms, in terms of their compliance or risk management areas and all of that. And similarly, they need dealers in terms of who can trade international markets. There are companies which are hiring 100 and 500 and 200 and 300 people as a trading desk, where they will trade the US markets or any other international market sitting in GIFT City. So I think from a financial, from technology and fintech perspective, there are huge opportunities coming up. Large global IT firms and fintech firms are joining the entire growing ecosystem, and I am sure you will be the first beneficiary of what's happening today in GIFT City. With this, I'll end my presentation, and will be happy to interact with you in terms of the questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
We'll be handing out the mic. Anyone, can you raise your hand, whoever has a question? Just share your name and ask the question.
Hi, my name is Yash. I wanted to know that you mentioned framework a couple of times, right? Where is that framework available, and is it like in the public domain?
Yeah, so all the regulatory framework, including the presentation in terms of what you can do in that particular business, that's available in GIFT City website. So you can visit giftgujarat.in. The same regulatory frameworks are also available on the regulator's website, which is IFSCA, IFSC Authority website. So you can visit either of the website, go to the IFSC tab, and you can download all the regulations basically.
Question?
Yeah, 1 minute. There's someone behind? Yes.
What are the future activities or the plans for the GIFT City in the coming years?
So future activities perspective, I'll answer in two parts. One from the city development perspective.
Okay.
We are, from the city development perspective, riverfront is being extended to GIFT City. We have plans to create large entertainment and recreational zone closer to that the riverfront. We are also developing 32 acres of Central Park, which will have all the amusement and entertainment activities within the city. Multi-speciality hospital, very known group, Lilavati group from Mumbai. They are setting up their multi-speciality hospital. The work is already going on. Many other foreign universities are going to set up their campus apart from these two Australian universities. So that's more from the infra side, the plans that we have. In terms of the activities, business activities, in terms of the new, so apart from the businesses which I talked on during my presentation, some of the new activities which we are right now working is the tokenization of assets. It's a talk of the town where many fintech companies want to tokenize their assets. So we are working on that regulatory framework. We are also working on creating new products on the IFSC exchange platform, where can we allow the listing of the Indian companies on the international exchange. Today, till recently it was not possible, but now even Indian companies can list in the international stock exchange. So we are working on that regulatory framework to allow Indian companies to list. And also within the fintech domain as well, we are trying to attract new and emerging fintech startups which are into the health tech or space tech or agri tech as well. So I think a lot of work is going on to develop the new lines of businesses as well.
So all this development will take place in how many years? In coming 4 years, 5 years?
So basically it's some of these businesses will happen very immediately. So direct listing which I mentioned, it will happen in next 3 to 4 months, because the notification is already out, and the companies will now start looking at it. tokenization of asset, the committee has already been formed. So again, it will happen in next 3 to 6 months.
I think
The-
I'll just cut you short.
Yeah.
You can ask him afterwards. This is too detailed. Okay,
Yeah.
let us go ahead with other questions, please.
Yeah, so I want to ask at present, I'm not aware much about, but we are getting space on lease, and that too, one person costing sitting there is 15,000 approx. What I've heard from my sir, and he's asking if we can have a full office here. Is there any opportunity?
Yeah, so the good problem to handle which we had in GIFT City was the not availability of the space, because considering so many businesses are happening and many institutions are showing so much interest, the regular buildings were fully occupied. And what we created is the kind of a incubation facility or the plug and play facility where you can immediately come and start the operations. And that's what you mentioned about per desk kind of a facility. But the regular building is now going to be available from April 24. So, from April onwards, if you are looking to get the larger office space, that's going to be available now, from in next 2-3 months, basically.
Hello, sir. Myself Aditya. Hey, thanks for the great presentation, sir. Sir, I just want to know, like, for
Excuse
example,
me, if you don't, can you stand up? He can see you then.
Yeah. So, sir, as a businessman, like, if we want to provide services to in the gift city, because I think if you see most of the companies which are there is like all US based and the head office like outside India. So how to get business from there, or is it something we need to register ourselves in a certain way, like a approved vendor portal or somewhere where you approve and then we can provide services over there? Thank you.
So, within the IFSC, again, I forgot to mention in my presentation, we have a framework called ancillary services. So even if you are a consultant, advisor, or a service provider, you can register under the ancillary service provider. And as a business income also, you will also enjoy 10 years of income tax holiday on your business. And as a consultant and service provider, you can provide services to the companies set up in Gift City. But even if you are not present today in Gift City, it doesn't restrict you to, provide services. So you can approach these companies and even provide services based in Ahmedabad. But being closer to the client, institution, it will give you a better connectivity basically in terms of providing services.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just 1 minute. हमने पहला mic आप पाचन मैडम ना.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. It was very interesting to know about Gift City. From the employment perspective, I have 2 questions. One, if we want to see which are the companies there in the Gift City, is there a portal, and how do they put up the recruitment opportunities on which portal? So these are the important things for employment.
So the list of companies is available on the website. So when you visit the website, the registered entities along with their specified contact details is available. Currently we don't have a kind of a common platform where everybody can post their requirements in a single platform, which probably we will work upon. But generally, on LinkedIn platform or generally on the Naukri.com kind of portals, they place their requirements, for the related to Gift City right now.
Hello, sir. My name is Drishti. I have one question that by seeing all the benefits which is coming in Gift City, right? Do you really think that the Dholera SIR, India's first smart city, we call it, so that will gonna be a little backwards in terms of opportunities and everything?
So the basic concept of both the region is very different. So Gift City was purely based on financial and IT. And as you know that financial and IT is, if I decide to set up a fintech company, within 2 months I can just register, set up and start the operations. So in terms of the speed and the way the activities can start is very fast for the services business. Dholera, if you look at their plan, it's basically for the manufacturing companies and large manufacturing companies. And the size of Dholera probably I understand is equal to Singapore, you know. So while it will take some time, but the kind of focus, kind of infrastructure that government of Gujarat is providing in the Dholera as a region, you will be surprised, but going forward, the large companies will set up their large manufacturing plants because some of the defense companies and all, they need large land parcel. And Gujarat is the kind of one of the only unique place where such land parcel is available in big size with government. Otherwise, generally you need to acquire land and all of that. So it will take some time because it's a manufacturing hub, but it will be for a very longer period of time, and you will see the industrial hub is created in Dholera because the international airport is under construction. The Delhi-Mumbai corridor highway is going to have a better connectivity to Dholera. So I see a great future for Dholera, you know, once the large company starts operating from that zone.
Any more questions? અહીંયા પાછળ આમને આપજો પેલે બાજુ.
Hello Sandip sir, thanks for the insightful presentation. So sir, I have a question regarding AIF. If any NRI, basically a US citizen or a Dubai citizen who wants to invest in Indian real estate business, so via setting up a category 1 AIF, can he or she invest in GIFT City, and we as a fund manager can invest in Indian real estate, or we need to set up another AIF in Indian onshore, which...
Sure. Yeah. No, so basically for the foreign investors, you know, if you want to raise money from them and invest into the real estate projects, you will have to set up kind of a category 2 fund, which is like a private equity fund. And the minimum size of a fund is requires to be a $5 million, and one investor is required to invest minimum $150,000. Now, once you meet that requirement, fund under the FDI route, foreign direct investment route, can invest into the real estate projects. And you know, the real estate company can issue debentures, or it can be credit fund, they can issue any debt instruments. So under which the fund, you can manage a fund, raise money and invest into the real estate projects in India.
Because there was a misconception regarding the CAs, particularly in Ahmedabad, because they were in conception that we cannot invest the AIF in real estate.
No, so you cannot have Indian investor into the fund. Yeah, foreign investors can invest, and the FDI norms will apply, foreign direct investment norms. So under that norms you can invest. And there are many real estate funds already operating today from GIFT City.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Mahek Nanda. Sir, I have one question. I have many clients. They want to set up a office in GIFT City, but they want to start in SEZ zone. So there is a lot of queries that how they are not allowed to start in SEZ zone. They are telling that you can do business in domestic. So what criteria is there to start in SEZ zone if the client want to structure office over there?
So GIFT from a business perspective, आप 3 zones imagine कर सकते हो. So if you imagine a big circle, that's GIFT City. Now within that big circle there is another small circle that is special economic zone, SEZ, which you mentioned. And within the SEZ zone you can imagine another circle which is IFSC. Now what is the difference of these 3 zones? If my business is in rupee terms, and if my clients are Indian clients, then I can be part of that bigger circle, domestic zone of the GIFT City. Now say if my business is a overseas business in terms of services in nature, so if I am providing advisory, consultancy, IT services, technology services, and if my clients are overseas, and if my invoice is in dollar terms or in any foreign currency, I can be part of that special economic zone. So my clients are overseas, my revenue is in dollar, I will be part of the SEZ zone. But say if your clients are in financial services, BFSI, and if you are providing financial services in terms of advisory and AIF and banking and capital market, you can be part of that IFSC zone. So ये 3 difference है basically इसमें.
One last question.
Hello, sir. Thank you for your presentation. My name is Prerna, and I just want to ask you that I well understand that there is facilities for offshore fundings. As I'm going to, if I'm open consultancies for offshore services, then it would be grateful for a firm. But if I make sure that the as an Indian investors are also come into this, and if I want to provide my services as a consultant from the gift city to the Indians as not the foreign investors. So is that same compliances and same reliefs given to as and to that firm? Is that possible?
So as I mentioned, if your clients are Indian clients and the nature of services is also related to India, nothing related to the foreign product, then it's a pure rupee business, which can happen from Ahmedabad or even a domestic zone of gift city. It cannot be set up in the IFSC zone. So the domestic regulations and the compliance will apply for such services. But if you are providing services to the Indian clients for their, say, foreign investments or the overseas business, then there are possibilities where you can offer it from the IFSC zone, and there are certain specific regulations under which it can be provided.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question. You wanted to ask? Here? Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Purav. Just to re-clarify and make a bigger circle of the question that which gentleman asked, foreign investments can be done through gift in Indian equities or Indian capital markets. Same way, Indian investors can invest in foreign markets through gift. Is there a possibility that Indian investors can invest in capital markets of India through gift route?
So basically, rupee coming in gift city in dollar and again going back in rupee, that's a round tripping. So it is not allowed because it has a round tripping implication as well as a tax arbitrage.
Yes.
So that will not be possible. Indian investors can invest overseas through gift. Foreign investors can invest in India as well as overseas, both. So that's how it is.
And my second question is that is there a possibility for a setup like registered office in gift and head office outside of gift, Ahmedabad or any other location, to avoid the extra overheads which gifts carry, the operating office and gift carry?
Yeah, no. So basically, if your activities are part of the IFSC zone, it has to be carried out from that particular zone because it has been designated as IFSC. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandip bhai. It was a wonderful session. And all of you, he has told Gift City website is there, and if you want to contact him also, you can do so.